Welcome to Game Domain, where today we are hitting on the next list of the top scored games of all time. There are some games that are light and fun and focus entirely on gameplay or fun characters. And there are some that are almost like movies in a cinematic sense. They pull you in with a deep story and flawed human characters. Very rarely do you find a game that does both, and does them very well. But Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is just such a game. Anyone that has played a Metal Gear Solid game knows that high production value is a standard, along with an interesting cast of characters and gameplay that is second to none. The gameplay this time around has changed quite significantly with a new open world, with different missions that you can complete in any order that you want, and the ability to travel freely to the game's different areas, either capturing outposts or recruiting new soldiers. That's right, the base and team building aspect of the game that was only seen so far in Peace Walker has made a return, and a triumphant one it is. Along with the usual tactical espionage action of sneaking through bases and trying to find new and creative ways to break into enemy bases and make your way out without being seen, you will be monitoring the enemy soldiers to see who has what skills and at what grade in order to capture them and bolster your troops back at the base. You'll also be hunting for ores and other materials in order to upgrade your bases with new features, upgrade your helicopter, new blueprints for weapons and equipment, and new ways to outfit your animals so they are unstoppable machines of war! There could be and have been a fair number of complaints with the story and that it makes no sense and that the characters and timeline are all screwed up. And to someone that has never played the series before and knows nothing about it, you're right. This is a really bad place to start the series and expect to just make sense of it. Also, anyone expecting to continue the story of Solid Snake and understand more of where he came from and what brought him to Part 4, you're going to be disappointed, as this game does not cover his story. That all being said, if you stick with it and are willing to look into just a tiny bit of the story outside of this game, you can figure it out pretty well enough. And even if you don't, you can sit back and just enjoy the story and characters and all the effort and care that went into crafting such a deep and layered game without needing to know all of the details. Who knows? Maybe it'll be your gateway into the rest of the series. So why does this title earn a very prestigious 95 overall score? There are many layers to this game, and while they may not always synergize or lend well to each other, they are individually executed exceptionally well, which isn't something many games can do with just one core mechanic, let alone 3 or 4. Also, the story, while hard to follow and a bit nonsensical at times, was crafted with care and executed in a way that many feature-length films could take a lesson from. What it does very well. So why not a full-on 100? Because for all that it does so well, which is a lot of things, it still feels like it's just a handful of really cool and interesting ideas that never come together at any point. With all the controversy around this game, from changing David Hayter as the lead voice actor, to the change in director, to removing Kojima's name from the project, there were a lot of people that swore this game off. While I understand and respect their opinion, and their commitment to what they believe in, I do have to say that if you have taste, and you like Metal Gear Solid games, this one is a win in every category. What do you think of The Phantom Pain having a 95 and a spot on our best of all time list? Have you played it, or will you go back to give it a try? What do you wish was done differently with this game? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to Game Domain, where today we are getting into the 95 Plus Club for video games. These are the games that have risen to the top of the Metacritic all-time scores for any console. Today we're here to talk about the game that sits with a very respectable 95 score, and is now and will be for some time one of the greatest puzzle games that has ever been made for so many reasons, which we'll get into. It is the one and only Cake Acquisition Simulator, and my favorite game, Portal 2. Portal 2 brought with it everything that we loved about the original, all of the class and character of GLaDOS, who is the twisted computer that serves as your guide throughout each of the test chambers. She does her best from start to finish to help motivate you in her own very special way. She's encouraging you through her multitude of tests that you have using a portal gun that creates a portal where you shoot with left click and a second portal where you shoot with right click. The tests will have you popping in one end and out the other. They will have you dropping boxes through portals. They will have you using the power of inertia to launch yourself out of them. This time around, you also get gels that speed you along, bounce you off whatever surface you apply them to, and even creating another surface where you can apply Portal to, or any combination of the three. The thing that this game does better than most others is the mix of dark humor and real thought. Every time you think you are going to hit your breaking point during or after a particularly challenging set of tests, there is one of the game's very few characters there to make you smile again. Even the turrets and companion cube are there brightening your day. This time around, you don't just have this set of different tests and chambers to work your way through, but you have the whole facility that you have to work through. Now, one of the more interesting things about this game, especially compared to the others in this genre, I was tempted to say that you have to fight through the facility, and I did make mention of the turrets that you will come across from time to time, and the portal and gel guns that you will use, but there is no combat to speak of in this game. None. You don't have to fight, you don't have to shoot anything, you don't have to kill anyone. You will face challenges, you will have to make your way through trials and handle things, but you will not have to kill a single thing, so to speak. One of the other things that makes this game really something special is that even though it is one of the more recent editions of console as well as PC, there are still only a couple of buttons that you actually need to use to function. This does a few things. Not only does it help to streamline the gameplay, but the focus on the puzzles and interactions with the world, which is a great thing. It also helps bridge the gap to allow many different age groups and experience levels of gamers to come together and try to take on the puzzles and really talk and play together, even if there's only one person at the helm. This helps to create a new level of family interaction. But on the advert, a new breed of backseat gaming. Portal 2 is a real treat. Not only that is it not what you expect, I mentioned on some of the high points above, but there is still so much more to do in this game, in both the story and mechanics. But we keep things spoiler free here on Game Domain, and I'm sure that there are some that have not played the game yet. Yes, you in the back, only the demo, well, play it, and get this one done, because it is both a game and experience that everyone should share at least once, for science!
Welcome to Game Domain, as we continue working our way through the list of the top-rated games of all time. We are working our way through the first 60 games, which all hold a score of 95+. Today, we put down the swords and guns and get into some sports ball with Madden 2003. If there was one game that could be considered solely responsible for making me listen to Andrew WK over and over again, it would be this one. For anyone who doesn't know, the Madden games are one of the top football series that are available on the home console and have been for a very long time. With a focus on making the game feel more and more like you're watching a Sunday game, and the realism and production value that it comes with, they've outdone themselves a little more with every annual release. First off, EA Tracks made its appearance during the 2003 release, and for as simple as the things it was awesome! Rather than the usual muddy chiptune tracks that you listened to in the previous years while looking through the team's plays and menus, this year you get real licensed music. Andrew WK and Seether all making an appearance. For the time, remembering, this is 2003 we're talking about, this was a huge leap in technology. Not only could you add real music into the game, but you had the media that could house all of the data and systems that could play them without suffering for it. It doesn't seem like much, but the first time you sat down and put the disc in, you felt like it was something really special. Now, going back in time to the 2003 and specifically the PS2 version that found its way to the 95 range on the overall score, what brings us here? With a revamped franchise mode that takes you from preseason all the way through to the Super Bowl, customizable rosters, completely customizable playbooks, and even a mini career mode, there's enough content here to keep any superfan busy. 14 years ago, the world of gaming was a very different place. You want to have the Cowboys vs. the Redskins match up with your buddy? One of you is packing up your controller and heading over to the other's house so you can sit face to face and battle it out. Madden 2003 on the PS2 changed that and changed it for good. The PS2 version was the first home console version to include online multiplayer. One could argue that it was this feature alone that made this game something more special than the others. Being able to play matchmaking or season games against someone who is more than 5 feet from you was unheard of. Today, a game would be wiped from the record books for not including that feature. While sports games have a very direct audience, there is no denying that Madden 2003 brought some very new and innovative ideas to the gaming world that had not been done before, and those ideas have helped shape the world and the games that we play today. What would the Call of Duty franchise be without online multiplayer on home consoles? What would Just Dance, Rock Band, or any others be without using real licensed music in games? All things that can be owed back to one of the best football and longest running gaming franchises there is. Did you play Madden 2003 in 2003? Do you feel the things that it brought to the table helped shape the way we game today? Do you love Andrew WK? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching!
Hi, and welcome to Game Domain 95 Plus Games. And today, we're going to talk about Super Mario Galaxy, which has a 97 score on Metacritic. Super Mario Galaxy has a lot to live up to. It was the next 3D Mario game after two critically acclaimed hits, Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine. In addition to that, it was the first main series Mario game on the Wii. Not only did Mario Galaxy live up to those expectations, it surpassed them. You start off going to a festival at Peach's Castle, and surprise, surprise, Bowser shows up and causes some chaos. You are greeted to some really well done cinematic cutscenes, and soon find yourself on a small planet where you have to catch some rabbits, like in Super Mario 64. After that, you get the power to do a spin move by shaking the Wii Remote, which, like all other controls, is extremely responsive. The levels were undoubtedly more linear than prior 3D Mario games, but it more than made up for that in terms of originality. You couldn't find a level that takes place in a galaxy made up entirely by baked goods and candy, or a level where you fly around as a bee. Galaxy is still, to this day, one of the most original games of all time. Galaxy is not the toughest game out there, and certainly not the most difficult Mario game. But Nintendo wasn't afraid to throw in quite a bit of challenging levels and challenges. For many levels, it's very difficult to find the secret star, assuming that that level has one. Now, it's time to talk about the main reason why Mario Galaxy is truly a phenomenal game. The level designs, the tight platforming, enemy placements, different tasks that can help you but aren't required, enemy placements, variety in art design, and so much more. Including, you guessed it, the gravity mechanics. In case you've been without internet for 10 years and haven't heard why Mario Galaxy is innovative, one of the many reasons, and definitely the biggest reasons, are the gravity. And well, being on many different planets. Yes, I know, Ratchet & Clank takes place on a lot of different planets, but the gravity isn't that different than most other games like it. Unlike probably every single other 3D platformer made prior. The gravity is a lot different depending on where you are. If you're on a flat surface, the gravity will be mostly normal. But if you're on a small planet and you go past the curve, you'll go even farther. That might not sound like a lot today, but in 2007 it was brand new and stood out in a year that many consider to be the greatest year for gaming. What are your thoughts on Super Mario Galaxy? Let us know in the comments, and remember to subscribe if you liked this video. And remember to check out our upcoming 95 Plus Games videos about Super Mario Galaxy 2, and probably Super Mario Odyssey.
Welcome to Game Domain as we continue our list of the Big 95, the games that have an overall score of 95 or higher on Metacritic. Today we're here to take it down a couple of notches with a game that hits you not only with fear and tension, but a game that hits you on an emotional level more than once and makes you really have to stop and think things through. Today we're talking about The Last of Us. Again, this is a proud spoiler-free zone, so I won't talk too much about the story, no matter how much I want to gush about it. Here are some high points for you. You will mostly find yourself playing as Joel, who will be accompanied by Ellie. You'll be going from one end of a post-apocalyptic world to the other. You'll have to deal with something very much like zombies, only a lot worse the entire time. You won't have much in the way of either weapons or ammo to do it with. Sounds fun, right? The gameplay has much more of a focus on stealth and striking when the moment's right versus trying to fight your way through. Everything from zombies to other people will be looking for you. But while there are some areas that can be a challenge, it never feels unfair, and the AI never feels like it's doing something that it shouldn't. Add into all of this an explorative and action-oriented world that will have you traversing broken buildings and overgrown wastes. A sensing mechanic that will help give you an edge when things get down and dirty, and will tell you where things are and what you need to watch out for. And you have some of the most well-crafted gameplay you could hope for. For as good as the gameplay and mechanics and the world around you are, and how well they draw you in, the real star of this one is the story. The story that Naughty Dog tells is something completely outside of your usual zombie survival story. It's a story that slowly builds characters up until you have a deep-rooted connection and investment in them you never saw coming. I've been playing games for the better part of almost 30 years now. There was at least one moment in this game that literally made me stop, put the controller down, and just stare at the screen, taking in what I was seeing. For anyone curious what that was, it was the giraffes. Come the end of the story, you find something that you don't often find in games, even when they are almost completely story-driven. You find satisfaction. This game is, for lack of better terms, the complete package. Some technical hiccups and flaws with the AI are about the only thing that hold it back from pure perfection. If you haven't played this game or had this experience, you owe it to yourself as a gamer and a lover of good story and art of all kinds to try it. Have you played The Last of Us? Do you agree with the place that it has on the list and the overall score? What did you love most about it? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to Game Domain, where we continue our list of the Big 95, the games that have an overall score of 95 or higher on Metacritic. Have you ever dreamed about being a cowboy or a sheriff? Have you ever seen a western? Imagine the image of an anti-hero taking on hordes of bandits and criminals with his trusty revolver and loyal horse, moving from town to town righting wrongs, living free to explore the plains of the Wild West, acting on his own moral code. Imagine you're that character. Red Dead Redemption delivers on that feeling and so much more. Every generation has games that push what's possible to do with gameplay, technical excellence, story, or all of them. They become icons of the era, examples to follow, and show the best that games can be. Red Dead Redemption is one of those games. Like the classic it is, this story must be played to fully appreciate it. But here's how it starts. Most of the game takes place in 1911, in a fictional part of the United States. These are the last years of the cowboy, the outlaw, and the Wild West in general, as modern technology and expansion leave them obsolete. The game begins when the Bureau of Investigation takes John Marston, a former outlaw, and his family. They will give him amnesty if he captures the remaining members of his old gang. It's a story that dissects all the common tropes of the Western and leaves you with no clear idea if anybody can truly be classified just as a hero or a villain, since many of the characters in the game oscillate between the two. You'll meet characters that you despise, some will make you cry, and others will make you laugh. In the end, the only thing that will matter is the legend you forge in the West with your actions. I still get shivers when I think about the ending. The game is a third-person shooter with an open world, not strange coming from the creators of GTA. Missions are linear, but the player has complete freedom to explore the world on his trusty horse or by train. Don't be alarmed if you lose hours riding through the plains, deserts, and forests of this game. The landscape has a breathtaking level of detail, and there are many random events to be found in the form of travelers, enemies, and wildlife. The game has a morality system in the form of positive or negative honor, and another tracker called fame. Based on your actions, people will react with fear or contempt to you. Stores will offer you discounts or close its doors. A bounty may be placed on your head. However, you love crime and hate consequence, you can hide your face behind a bandana. If a Miss Outlaw or heroic anti-hero, the choice is yours. Of course, this game wouldn't be a Western without amazing gunfights, and this is another place the game shines. You can target specific body parts in the case you feel merciful, and the AI will react depending on where you hit them. The duel system is more spectacular than regular combat. With the use of a mechanic called Deadeye, the player can plan where he wants to hit in slow motion. When time goes back to normal, Marston will empty the revolver in those locations. As if that wasn't enough, the game also has multiplayer with a maximum of 16 players with multiple modes, like free-for-all, team deathmatch, or even a mode which they must defend a stronghold. Regardless of the mode, every match starts with the Mexican standoff, giving winning players an advantage while the rest respawn. The players can also form a group of 8, or a posse, to do activities against the AI. Have you ever played Red Dead Redemption? Do you agree with its place it has on the list and its overall score? What do you love most about it? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.
Welcome to Game Domain as we continue our list of the Big 95, the games that have an overall score of 95 or higher on Metacritic. The saga of The Legend of Zelda is unique. Almost anyone in the gaming world has heard about it or experienced it in some way or another. There are certain things you can expect in every new game, yet each installment stands on its own. What is clear is that the Zelda franchise is universally loved, and Twilight Princess is no exception. It tells the same classic story, but in such a way that it feels fresh again. After all, the reason why the characters in this series remain so popular isn't necessarily the individual stories themselves, but in how they're told. So how does Twilight Princess fare in comparison to the previous games? Quite well, actually. Both in terms of gameplay and narrative, Twilight Princess captures the same magic and charm of the previous editions, and provides a fresh polish that gives the player a quality version of everything we already liked. To top that off, an HD remaster of the game was released for the Wii U, in case anybody wants to give it a go, which we highly recommend. This story focuses, as usual, on the series protagonist Link as he fights to prevent Hyrule from being consumed by a corrupted parallel dimension, the Twilight Realm. To aid the hero in his journey, he unlocks a new and unique ability to transform between Hylian and Wolf. He's assisted by a mysterious entity known only as Midna. As most fans may know, the Zelda franchise split into multiple timelines following the final events of Ocarina of Time. In sort of a what-if scenario fashion, one of these is the Child-era timeline, where Link was triumphant against the evil Ganon in Ocarina of Time, resulting in the events of Majora's Mask and then hundreds of years later, Twilight Princess. When it comes to gameplay, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess doesn't really divert that much from the established formula of previous games. But that isn't a bad thing. After all, if something works, why change it? It uses the same basic controls found in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. This title offers a huge world to explore, with many tasks and secrets to discover, and of course, all kinds of bizarre characters to talk to. There are two main attractions to keep you focused: the interaction between the regular world and the Twilight realm, and Link's ability to transform into a wolf. At first, the transformation occurs anytime Link enters the Twilight realm, though eventually he does learn to change at will. The traditional puzzles mesh well with the new mechanics and are as ingenious as you can expect from a Zelda game. Let's not forget to talk a bit more about the new character of the series, Midna. She provides commentary on everything you do, either to give advice or to make fun of you. Those of you fearing another Navi don't have to worry. She's equal parts annoying and charming. This is of course a spoiler-free zone, but I will say she plays a huge part in the story that will catch more than one player by surprise. Have you played The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess? Do you agree with the place that it has on the list and the overall score? What did you love most about it? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
Did you enjoy Skyrim? What about Fallout? Mass Effect? Dragon Age? These massive open-world RPGs wouldn't have been possible without their ancestors: Baldur's Gate, Planetscape Torment, Icewind Dale, Wasteland, Fallout 1 and 2, etc. If these games ring a bell, then you know what I'm talking about. Isometric RPGs. These old-school RPGs have come back thanks to the miracle of crowdfunding. It started with Wasteland, then Pillars of Eternity, and so many more. Their massive success showed the public, and game companies especially, that this genre was not dead at all. Since then, we had many more, and from this new wave of isometric RPGs came one title that had surpassed all expectations, and became one of the greatest RPGs of all time. I'm talking about Divinity Original Sin 2. It's a sequel to the acclaimed Divinity Original Sin, another great isometric RPG game on its own right. However, as good as this game was, it was only the blueprint for something so much greater. Divinity Original Sin 2 improves every single aspect of the original game, but this is no mere polish. If the original game was a temple, this is a cathedral. There's just too much to praise, but for the sake of brevity, we are going to stick to the most important points. It wouldn't be a great RPG if the story didn't deliver, and oh boy does it deliver. The basic story takes place centuries after the first game. The land is ravaged with wars and religious persecution. A great bishop declares that all sorcerers are dangerous criminals that should be locked away, and so a group of 4 sorcerers embark on a quest to stop them. It deals with issues like intolerance, injustice, vengeance, and much more with masterfully fully voiced dialogues and excellent narration. That said, what is a great steak without some tasty side servings? As good as the main story is, the real experience lies in the side quests, conversations with suspicious rats, fights with fire slug kings, and many more. No character is safe from death, and side quests can be locked if the NPC dies, but not the main quest, which speaks volumes of freedom this game offers. Although the player has the chance to create their own characters from zero, it's recommended to try one of the pre-generated characters, as they have more options available in terms of story and dialogue. The player has complete freedom to choose their skills and the classes of their companions. The story can also be enjoyed in cooperative mode if you trust your fellow players to not ruin your story. The game has a gorgeous world for you to explore. Isometric RPG doesn't necessarily mean boring or static landscapes, and that is double true for this game. The world is a pleasure to look, like a carefully crafted painting, one that you can burn by the way. The world remains as interactive as ever. This last part bears mentioning because of how important it is for gameplay. Everything matters in some way, from positioning to the nature of the surface where the characters are standing. In the vast majority of RPGs, you can chat, fight, or stealth your way out of any encounter. This holy trinity has remained stable because it works. But what if you want to teleport your enemy to the other side of the island? Or maybe you can bring a boss to fight another boss. Or perhaps you just want to push the enemy into a lava pit. It challenges the player to defy conventions and create their own solutions. And once you finish the game, it doesn't end. The game includes a mode where a game master can craft an adventure or a campaign with several tools, basically allowing a practically endless supply of DLC stories. If you're in the competitive mood, then perhaps the multiplayer arena mode is for you. Divinity Original Sin 2 is going into the pantheon of legends when it comes to RPGs. It's a game that will be talked about for generations to come An excellent experience that will shake you with its stories and entertain you for hours with its clever gameplay. For that and so much more, this game more than deserves its rating. Now go and start playing it if you haven't already.